Hi! This time I wanted to talk about the balance that exists between the game and the roleplay aspect of a tabletop role-playing game. I personally think that when you achieve that sweet spot, you have so much fun and immersion at the same time. That's my whole reason for playing tabletop role-playing games, trying to achieve that balance. There are certainly role-playing games that lean a bit more on the rules, some others have a more free-form roleplay style, but because they are role-playing games, you still have the rules for a game and a way to roleplay that particular system within a setting. So I want to communicate how I think that the game aspect supports or enhances the roleplay aspect and vice versa. Let's start with the game, with the system, with the rules. Maybe you are playing a tabletop role-playing game with a somewhat crunchy or complex subsystem during a fight. Maybe it's one of those systems where you roll to determine where the injury lands when you get hit or cut or whatever. You determine where the injury happens. If you are playing without such subsystems, you have more freedom when it comes to expressing or describing your character's actions or reactions. Maybe you are in the middle of a fight and the enemy hurt you pretty badly. So now you want to make a retreat, but it's difficult because your enemy is right there. You're going to get attacked at the moment where you start to back away. But another member in the party, perhaps even a hireling, a henchman, comes to your rescue, and now that character is keeping the enemy occupied, so you can make your retreat and heal yourself or treat yourself in some way. If you, like I said, didn't determine where the blow lands, you can describe anything. I quickly run back upstairs as I hold my injured ribs. That's possible. But if you made a roll and it turns out that the blow landed on your head, maybe the enemy was attacking you with a warhammer or a club or a mace or whatever, and the injury lands on your head, the blow lands on your head. So now this is a way to challenge yourself, how good you are at improvising that wound while role-playing. You could say something like, I run up the stairs while holding my head as I am screaming, ah, oh, to represent the pain. But maybe you got a nasty slash or cut across your arm. That's determined by the subsystem. You made a roll and the enemy hit your left arm. Now it's going to be very different. You could say something like, I run away or I back away up the stairs while holding my arm and yelling encouragement. Keep on fighting, men. Just let me patch myself up. I'll be back. Or something like that. In the case of the head injury, you could also say something like your character stumbles upstairs because the head injuries are very dangerous and they are quite disorienting. They disorient you. So maybe you are almost stumbling up the stairs or the stone steps or whatever. So that's a way of challenging your ability to roleplay that character. What if it's another sort of situation? Maybe you are playing a Powered by the Apocalypse role-playing game, and you are playing a detective scenario or adventure or whatever, and you are talking with a suspicious character. Maybe that character is just a witness, maybe that character is a suspect, but you are investigating the disappearance of Mr. Gunn. Mr. Gunn has gone missing. And you are talking to Mr. Sus. So you are talking with Mr. Sus and you make your roll during your social interaction. And now you have the right, because of the result, you can obtain 2 clues. Instead of breaking immersion and talking to the game master directly, can my character find out if this character saw Mr. Gunn at the time of the disappearance? Or instead of saying that, talk to the non-player character directly. You could say something like, excuse me, Mr. Sus, but did you see anything weird the day that Mr. Gunn disappeared? Anything out of the ordinary? Anything could help? And the game master could say something like, Mr. Sus looks at you and with a pleasant smile he says, no, not at all, everything was quite normal. And that way the game master is communicating that he's telling the truth. But now you have the right for another answer. It is because of the result you can obtain another truth. You could ask the character, the non-player character, Mr. Sus, did you know Mr. Gunn personally? Were you perhaps one of his friends? And then, because that character is forced to tell the truth because of the result of the roll of your social skill, maybe on your perception, perhaps, maybe the Mr. Sus says something like, no, we were barely acquaintances. While Mr. Sus starts looking another way, in another direction, and blinks twice. And the game master further communicates, it's obvious that Mr. Sus is not being entirely honest. So you see, that's the way that the rules play into the roleplay. They give you opportunities for further characterization or description of your character's interaction with the game world. And when it comes to roleplay, how it enhances the game aspect of a tabletop role-playing game, I think it's even easier to understand. Any action that you take during roleplay, maybe you are describing how your character is sneaking about, maybe you are describing how the character approaches that person in the party, maybe you are describing how you want to disable that device, maybe you are describing how your character draws his weapon and charges at the enemy. All of that is going to have some sort of repercussion or effect upon the game rules. Maybe you got discovered, the enemy spotted you while you were sneaking about. Now you need to think about how you can use your skills, powers, edges, abilities to escape that situation. Maybe even continue with the course of action. Maybe you have an invisibility spell. You are playing like a wizard thief. That's the right way of playing a wizard thief. You need to make a run for it, and as soon as you get the chance to hide somewhere, cast invisibility upon yourself, and now you can continue sneaking about. Maybe during a combat situation, the way that you describe your attacks, maybe you say something like, I quickly advance towards my enemy, I try to cut him with a series of diagonal slashes, and then I back away immediately, ready to draw my rapier or my dagger. So that could provide you a bonus in combat. And you can also further elaborate on the description of the result. Maybe your attack was successful. The game master could say something like, you moved so fast that in less than a blink of an eye, the enemy now has a nasty gash across his shoulder. Or maybe you missed, and the game master could say, despite your lightning fast actions, the enemy parried the attack so fast, so quick, almost in a supernatural way. So all of that has an effect on with the game rules. The game rules support the results or the consequences of the role play. In a social situation, I just gave you an example when it comes to a Powered by the Apocalypse RPG, but the way that you talk, the topics that you bring about during a conversation. When it comes to the game side of a tabletop role-playing game, you can strategize or use tactics concerning taking advantage of the modifiers related to a particular specific edge in a conversation. Maybe you are quite knowledgeable in history. Maybe you are quite knowledgeable when it comes to gossip. Maybe you know a lot about science, magic, the arcane arts. You can steer the conversation towards those topics in order for you to ingratiate yourself or present yourself in a more, impressive way when it comes to your interaction or your talk with the non-player character that you are approaching. You're going to benefit from those modifiers, from those perhaps bonuses in those role-playing games where you made this role and you were successful. Now you have these perks or things that you can use in your interaction. They give you a bonus, they provide you with further answers, all of that. So in my opinion, I think that when you play a tabletop role-playing game, it's all about that symbiotic relationship between the game aspect and the roleplay aspect. Even so, I would love to know your thoughts on this situation. Have you achieved such a balance when you play tabletop role-playing games? Do you think that you are lacking in some areas? Maybe you are not applying enough rules. because you are somewhat hesitant if you will be able to apply them correctly. Or maybe, like I said, you are just starting to play tabletop role-playing games and you're having trouble figuring out how the roleplay descriptions, the narrations, the way that your character speaks has some sort of benefit when it comes to using rules, abilities, and powers. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.